Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Hey, we're talking about your first 30 days in New Zealand, Australia, even anywhere you travel in the world. If you've just received your visa to come to New Zealand and Australia, let's explain to you how to survive the first 30 to 90 days. Because that's the most crucial time. Whether it's for tourism or work, congratulations. Your adventure is about to begin. But before you pack your bags and hop onto that plane, there's some critical things you need to know to ensure it's a smooth transition and your stay is successful. Not many people will tell you. Let's get into it. First, let's talk about immigration. It's vital to check with a professional certified immigration agent before you arrive. You don't want to be caught off guard or worse, turned around at the border with simple misunderstandings. Remember, you're allowed to look for job opportunities, but your primary purpose should be vacation. So make sure you're prepared to explain that to an immigration officer. Let's talk about immigration. It is vital to check with a professional, a certified immigration agent before you arrive. I travel globally. I understand what they say at the borders, but most people are clueless. And I don't want you to be tripped up like I see people. You don't want to be caught off guard or worse, turned around at the border with a simple misunderstanding. I got asked to go to a little room in Seattle. And I wasn't looking for a job. They ended up giving me a business visa. They didn't believe anything I was saying. They gave me a 3-month business visa into America. My son, Marshall, got caught up in London for 6 hours. And you might know Marshall from TV. He was on TV2 all the time and whatever. But Marshall travelled the world as well before he was an adult. Remember, while you're allowed to look for job opportunities, my primary purpose should be a vacation. So make sure you're prepared to explain that to an immigration official at the desk. Don't turn up with pocket loads of CVs and things, because they know that you're looking for a job and you might stay. But be a little bit smart. Now let's discuss how to make your money last for the first few critical months. Last time we went to Australia, we arrived at Enmore, Sydney, hipster area. We were greeted with a wonderful surprise, a beautiful 1880s home, 2 Russian cats, and 7 weeks of free accommodation. Oh, they'd left the fridge full of food for us, and a little note saying, eat anything you want, it's going to go off. And a couple of bottles of wine and champagne for Christmas and New Year. That's how. Now, we were house sitting. It's wonderful. I'm house sitting at the moment. We don't need to house sit at the moment, but we're house sitting at the moment. We've met a couple of people, frankly, you've spoken to people who come to New Zealand and Australia for a few months only to blow their money in such a short time. You know, when Tracy was coming, Tracy said, for the first time, I said, it's really expensive. We can't go to a restaurant. She didn't quite grasp it. I said, even the eggs, over 10 Rand each. Anyway, so we met a couple of people from New Zealand who've come to New Zealand and Australia for a few months, and they just blow their budget straight away. House sitting is an incredibly effective way to save money. The two big expenses are airline ticket and accommodation. We don't ever pay for accommodation. I hate paying for accommodation. Anyway, house sitting. As for getting around major cities in like Sydney, Auckland, Melbourne, public transport. We even traveled. We had another house sit in Albury, and we flew to Melbourne. Then we took a train to near Albury and a bus to the house sit. It's so easy to get round. It's affordable, convenient, so you don't have to feel pressured to buy a car straight away. I bought a car when I was in Thailand. My nephew said, "Uncle, it's not worth anything. It's worth scrap." I said, "How much is scrap?" He said, $200. I said, "Well, give him $250. So I bought the car for $250. The lady could have met me at the airport. We were both flying in and out at the same time. Here's your key. Wish you had done that. So $250 for a car. It lasted me about 7 months. So don't feel pressured. 9 months. If you decide to buy a vehicle, make sure you check it with the AA, even if it's only $400 or $500. Listen, I bought a $12,000 van. It only lasted 6 months, and so don't make that mistake. $12,000 is a lot of money. So after all these two cheap clonker and expensive clonker, we bought a vehicle straight from Japan. It cost us about $14,000. It had 38,000 kilometers. It felt new. Now we've done another 65,000 kilometers, and it's still going strong. And by the way, it's a small people mover, so we took the seats out and put a bed in the back, and so we sleep in the van frequently. We have a little cottage now, a little tiny cottage, 30 square meters, and we have it as a daily driver to explore the beautiful country. Some of your ideas in South Africa, Zimbabwe, I don't know about Zimbabwe, but South Africa definitely, on what's important isn't. Understand that. You don't need a BMW. Don't buy a BMW here. Don't buy a Volkswagen. Don't buy a Mercedes. They're expensive to maintain. Or Audi. People don't keep up with the Joneses here. It's not important. So get yourself something reliable, convenient, until you get on your feet. Then, hey, buy a Maserati, buy a Ferrari, but not the first week. My cousin's got a Maserati and a Ferrari and an $18 million house on the beach. But you don't need that. A little bit of anecdotal stuff. We were in Auckland, and if you want to know where your friends are, they're in Auckland. Tracy's in town. Tracy's boss, who now works for a big Irish food company, her junior boss works for the same company in Australia. They're all in Auckland. They're all in Auckland together. So they had a big reunion at a restaurant in town in Auckland. And Cole, who I'll talk about, Cole lived in Red Beach, Silverton, which is a long way from the central Auckland. At 5:30, she said, "Oh, you guys are having a party." So she jumped on the bus after work at 5:30. In Auckland, and we were over in Taradale, I can't remember the suburb, really close to the centre of Auckland, and we were going against the traffic going home. So we didn't have really traffic problems. But Cole, who had to travel 3 times the distance by bus, still bet us into Auckland. We should have come by bus. It would have been so much faster. So you don't need, take public transport, and it's clean and it's reliable, and you know, it's the way to do it. It's a smarter option and affordable. Speaking of Cole, she arrived in New Zealand on a non-work visa. She had her partner at the time, I think, had residency, but she did not. And she wasn't allowed to work. And that was a huge financial strain, I believe. And she wasn't with her partner anymore. Hey, you want to know how your relationship is with your partner? Travel on a budget. It's just travel. You find out how your partner is just by traveling. If they can go with the flow, keep her. Anyway, she was determined to get her own visa. So Cole, who comes from a HR background, applied for 10 jobs minimum a day. Online, phoning people up, sending her CV, sending her cover letters. 340 her first month. And she got, I can't remember, I think she got 12 responses, you know, personal responses, and she got 6 interviews. Hey, look in the picture dictionary under determination, and there's Cole's photo. She was sleeping in our friend's spare bedroom, a lovely family from Durban, and it just shows persistence pays off. Eventually she landed a job, and I don't know what came first, her new relationship in Wellington or the job. But anyway, because she was in Auckland at the time, so she went to Wellington for this job, which was based out of Petone. That's where my grandfather arrived in the 1920s, was Petone, an angry young Irish man. And the company gave her a work visa. She's been working with them since 2019, and now she has now become a contractor, her own company, and her first client is the company which gave her the visa. Hey, I had to move my spot. The sun was changing the view of everything. It was so cold here in where we are, and wet or overcast, foggy. I don't think it was overcast, it was foggy. But now the sun's broken through, and it's glorious but cold. Anyway, New Zealand is the land of opportunity. New Zealand and Australia, definitely, especially if you have the right qualifications. But it's important to plan ahead and be prepared. Last week, and by the way, things change all the time. I remember telling a man back in about 2010, you want to come to New Zealand? Get a job at a restaurant. Go to, I think it's Orient Technicon, get a chef's qualification, and you'd get a visa straight away, residency. But now times have changed. They don't do that so much. Not for chef. Become a nurse. By the way, he could become a nurse because he's a qualified military paramedic. And he's a psychologist. He became a psychologist, but he won't get a visa here so easily. But check with your immigration. Anyway, New Zealand's land of opportunity. But plan ahead. If you're in your 20s and 30s, look at what's qualifications, like being a nurse, being a mechanic, and being a plumber. Go do qualifications in your spare time to get that. Get a job to be that. In 4 years, 5 years, you'll have a CV and the qualification, even though it might not be what you planned for. My son is a digital graphic editor. I don't understand it, and I don't think he can get a visa for New Zealand. So I'm saying, look, change your degree into just a general BA degree and get your formal teacher certificate so he can teach at schools, and then he can come. And then they give you a $10,000 relocation bonus to New Zealand if you got the right qualifications. Not all, you have to check with your advisor. But last week, your age is a concern. My age is a concern. There's no age discrimination here if you've got a video machine recording the conversation. I'm in a rural environment here, and the quad just went bust. Sheepdogs all over the back. Not barking, luckily. Anyway, there's no age discrimination. There's no colour discrimination in New Zealand if you've got a video recording it, but there is. My wife's old company in South Africa have an office in Auckland, big factory and office, and they said, oh no, you're a bit overqualified for New Zealand. And then I spoke to a HR person, they said no, she's qualified. It's just that her age is too old, and they don't want to say that. Anyway, last week I was in a place called the Work and Income, and to go in there you have to have residency visa. Alright, you have to have a residency visa. It's a government office. And there's a 60-year-old, approximately Zimbabwe man, European. And I could see he was distressed. And he was talking to a similar age caseworker, so there's nothing I could say to help him. But this country offers great prospects if you've got the right frame of mind and the attitude. You know, and I feel for this man. I feel for him as a 60-year-old, and I feel for him as a person who's spent a lot of time in that country. You know, I know who he'd be. He'd be a nice, honest, hard-working man who should be given a chance. But, you know, he might be living with family with the right visa. That's expensive country. He should be house sitting. Maybe I should have stayed and told him that. By house sitting, he wouldn't be such a burden. So as you embark on this journey, remember these tips. Be smart with your money. Take advantage of opportunities like house sitting. Hey, there's another one. Transporting cars around for rental companies. You're not paid. You get given enough. You get given fuel money and maybe overnight accommodation. Free ferry rides. See New Zealand. The first 3 to 6 months can be tough, but the right approach, you know, you'll be on your way for a successful, fulfilling experience in New Zealand and Australia. So, if you like what you see, press the like button. If you like what you see, press subscribe. You know, I am a proactive 60-year-old. And by being proactive, I'm giving my knowledge. I've traveled, if you haven't worked for an airline, I've probably traveled the world more than anybody watching this video. I lived 9 years on a tourist visa in Durban and Cape Town. 9 years on a tourist visa. I was out of the country in America or Europe every 3 months. I know about traveling, I know how to get set up, and I know how to help you. Subscribe, like, and I'll be there for you.